I love that you're focused on what's true. When you have that kind of awareness and realization that I'm the bottleneck, I'm the reason
Yep.
why we're not growing. That is a humbling feeling, isn't it? Welcome to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This podcast is dedicated to helping overwhelmed outdoor living professionals, landscapers, and hardscapers just like you increase your closing rate to over 75% without doubling your workload so you can build a seven-figure business that doesn't need you. I'm your host, Joshua Gillow. Let's dig in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sales Made Simple podcast. This is your host, Joshua Gillow, and this week I actually have on Tanner Broughton from Firescapes. He's out in South Dakota, out in that nice, seems like year-round, icy, snowy tundra, and somehow you guys end up putting in tons of amazing, beautiful backyards, and I want to welcome Tanner back to the podcast. Welcome.
Yes. Thank you, Joshua, for having me back. This is the second podcast I've been on, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed our conversation last time. And, you know, when I think of South Dakota, I think of like 3 months worth of green and the rest is just cold and snowy. And I know I'm not right, but that's what I think of. So I would love to discuss today with you, find out a little bit more about your business, but then also jump into some of the challenges that you're facing this year as a business owner, you know, doing hardscapes and outdoor living and landscaping.
Yeah, no, let's hop right into it. I'll tell you all about it. It's not a big deal.
Sweet. All right, man. So let's start out a little bit with your, like, how did you get into this industry? Make it like a quick 2-minute thing and how you ended up where you are now. And then we'll get into some of the things you're facing.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm one of the few. I'm 30 years old and I've been in the industry for over half my life. So a lot of people can't say that at my age. But I started when I was 14 and I was that guy on the wheelbarrow. It was kind of funny. The first company I started with, who I'm still pretty close with, still in contact with my old bosses, but they, it's weird. Like I was a laborer. I couldn't lay pavers. I was just the guy in the wheelbarrow. I was hauling pavers to everybody. And so, I've came a long ways since then. But I've been on the residential side. I've even had a year of the commercial landscaping side. I worked for a supplier in college. I really was able to hit all aspects of the industry and I really enjoyed all of them. And it really helped me gear myself for my own business and to know, number one, know how I want to run my business. And, there's bits and pieces of every company that you work for as an employee that you like and you don't like. And so I wanted to take the best of both worlds because I've worked for two different landscapers in my career, but to be able to just say, hey, here's what we're going to doing differently at my company that's going to make my life better and my employees' lives better too. So
I love that. Okay. And how long have you had Firescapes?
so we started back in 2018. I graduated from university, got my business degree. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I actually went back to the supply yard for a short amount of time and I was doing side projects. And my parents were like, why don't you just do your own thing? And I think that's what I needed. I needed that extra boost, almost like an okay for my parents to say, go do your own thing. And I didn't really come, like my parents weren't entrepreneurs or anything like that. And so my mind wasn't even going that direction until they kind of gave me the green light. And then it opened up that whole nother window, like, okay, this is an opportunity that we can go do. And here we are. We bought our first shop last year and we're right on the interstate. So it's really cool. It's a really awesome spot to grow. And it really, honestly, to be honest, it makes me excited for the next 8 years because I'm like, wow, we've accomplished so much in 8 years. It is really easy to compare yourself on social media, be like, oh, this guy has been doing it for this long and he's got this and I don't have that. But honestly, you think about where you came from with a Chevy 1500 with all your tools in the back to, two dump trucks and two full-size skids and two mini skids in the shop. And that's small. There's a lot of people that scale faster than that, and that's fine. We all go at our own speeds, but my banker always says that they like the businesses that grow steadily, but not like a weed, because no one likes weeds. So you can get yourself in trouble. So
Yeah, that is true. That is true, man. So what do you guys specialize in? Like, what's the thing you guys do best?
yeah, so we really enjoy, the outdoor living space. Obviously, we can do mulching. We don't do any maintenance at all with we're install only,
Mm,
design install, which that's what we like to do. The guys are knocking out a big pool deck right now, actually on the golf course, and actually we got a lot of rain this morning, so I was out there helping the guys. I didn't have anything else to do, and I really enjoy being in the field. I really do. But I also this past year I've learned a lot that it's just as important for me to be out there selling and keeping that pipeline full. And so we're at that really good spot where I have two amazing guys that are going to be able to we're going to be able to multiply and add two crews next year. And so I'm really just prepping them and getting them in that mentality about efficiency, productivity, and so I can pay them more when they are, you know, designated foreman, but also, we can keep that pipeline full with me selling, and they can keep the projects, completed on time. So
love that. That's great. So, um, obviously, it's 2026. The world is different than it was a year or two ago, right? When it
yeah,
comes to our growth, where we are in our business, what the market's doing, what our customers want and don't want right now. So, what are some of the challenges you're facing at that Firescapes that is new for you?
yeah. So I would say some of the challenges that I'm currently facing, and I would not have thought this last year. However, I actually kind of feel, and I've came to the realization of it just now, or not now, but as of this year, that I kind of feel like I may be my own worst enemy, or I'm the bottleneck to my company. And I never would have thought that before, because number one, I know how to do everything, and in my mind, I do everything the best, right?
Mm,
And so I think a lot of business owners are very guilty of that, like, hey, don't do this or do that, which you have to be a teacher when you're teaching your guys, but also, I've learned I've seen more videos online, whether it's a mentorship program or Leanscaper or whoever else, it's all talking about systems, and that's one thing that I really feel like I've lacked. Now, it's probably because I was never taught that. For the
mhm,
companies I worked for, we never had any systems either, and so at least the systems that were in place, that were never black and white for the employees, I guess you could say. Like, we never walked through standard operating procedures. We'd do safety videos or something like that when I was an employee. But now I've learned what I have to implement so that everybody is on the same page and we can all take accountability for that too. And when it's a question, now we can refer back to something and not just have to guess and then make a mistake and have to go back. And now it's a very costly mistake. So for me, honestly, right now is I think that if I was just a sales and design guy, we could probably triple our revenue. And we all know that with growth, you have growing pains, and it's just because you triple your revenue doesn't mean that you're tripling your profits. But
yeah.
that's just one of those things. But again, it's all part of growing pains, and as you grow, you face bigger problems and problems that you didn't face before, and that's just part of business. But that's one thing that I think us contractors that we love about it is it keeps us on our toes. It's always a challenge. As long as we don't dig ourselves in too big of a hole, whether it's behind on the pipeline, like customers are breathing down your neck. Hey, when are you going to be here? You know, like I got into that situation a little bit this year where it's just uh, I couldn't even blame the weather. It didn't rain at all. It was just like, hey, we got our butts kicked on a couple projects. I don't know what else to tell you. We're a week and a half behind now, and well, I need this thing done before this graduation party, or so we all face that. We
Yeah.
all there's always customers that have timelines that sometimes they're achievable and sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, again, I really think that right now for me, systems is going to be a really big focus this
Mhm.
year and even next year, and just I think for us too is we ever since you started your business, you maybe have your own system, but to break that mold and to be in a different role is a little different. Like, it's going to be hard for me to take myself out of the field more. I really enjoy the field, but I'm way more important, and I have a much better role just on the sales side and selling those jobs, so that next year when we have two crews, that everybody has enough work.
Yeah.
And
That's
so, and
important.
that's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
You have to
Yeah.
realize what you're good at. Are you a
That's right.
better leader? Are you a better sales guy? And you can't do everything, right? And if you
That's
if
right.
you think you can do everything, you're going to really limit your size of your company. And nor do I don't want to have crews in 5 different states either. I think that when you start your business, you really have to kind of know what your end goal is and make sure that that aligns with your employees as well.
Yeah.
Because if you just want to have one crew and your employees wants to work their way up and be the sales guy or be the foreman or maybe even eventually be CEO, whatever, you need to have that transparency with them. I personally think. And so right now for me, it's a big push because the team that I have, I really enjoy them. They're my friends, they're my buddies, but they're also my
Yeah.
employees. And I want them to be able to grow with the company, right? So yeah,
So yeah, when it comes to being an owner, when we start out, it's typically just us or maybe a guy, like one extra person with us,
yeah,
a friend, whatever to start. We don't exactly have like a big business plan with every single, role planned
yeah,
and exactly what God's gifts were for me and what I need to excel in and what
yeah,
I need to hire for. Like we don't know any of those things. I certainly didn't.
yeah.
I know in the beginning we just fired off and my brother and I took off and my father was there and it was like, all right, well, what do you do? I like doing design. What do you like? I like building things. I like to drive. All right, cool. Let's just go do those things. And eventually there's no real clear roles to anybody. We're looking at each other, pointing fingers because we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. And somehow one person's pissed off because they're doing more than the other. And this whole thing happens,
Hmm.
right? And eventually you iron it out. We don't normally start out with a plan and we have exact, C-suite lined up and exact roles. Like we don't come from that. So
Yeah,
it takes years to figure that part out. But here's the beautiful part is to think about what you do each and every day, which brings you the most joy, love, and fulfillment, peace, passion, purpose, all of that. Think about what that is, something you could do every day, not get paid for it, and be perfectly happy, lose track of time doing it. Then you know you're in your gifting. You know that
yeah.
you're in a spot where maybe it's sales, maybe it's design. For me, it was design and sales. That's really what it was, right? It's because
Hmm.
I could design for hours and I'd lose track of 8 hours in a day because I was in the world of building something that didn't exist yet on a
Yeah,
computer or hand drawing it or whatever. So then I
exactly.
was like, okay, it's probably somewhere in there, right? But then it's a matter of like, all right, well, if I'm doing that, I can't be out in the field because those two just
Hmm.
don't correlate. You can't have your mind in like this creative space and then be out using your hands too in the same day, or you start pulling from each other's bucket there, if you will, of things. So
Hmm.
anyway, it's
Yep.
figuring out what that is, right? And figuring out where and there's no one more important than another. It's just let's get in our gifting. And if you have three partners in the business and they all love to design, that's wonderful. But who the hell's doing the work?
Yep.
Right. And if everybody wants
100%.
to work and nobody wants to design, nobody's going to be working much. Right. So, or
Yeah.
nobody wants to sell. So it's really a matter of putting together the best team. I love Gino Wickman. He wrote a book called Traction and he talks about the three different roles in a business that are so important if you want the business to work. And listeners, I want you to listen really closely to this because you fit in one of these buckets more than the rest. And until you realize that and really own that bucket, you're going to struggle with overwhelm and doing everything half-ass because you can't be everything to everybody. It doesn't work. You can't wear
Yeah.
17 hats and be good at it. It doesn't work. We can try, we can hold it up for a while, but eventually you'll burn out and either give up or fire everybody and just go back to having everything simple. So the first is visionary, right? The one who sees the vision of
Yeah.
the company, who holds it true, who is always thinking a year, 2 years, 5 years into advance. They're always thinking in the future. And that helps pull the ship, if you will, like the captain seeing the map, knowing where we're going, right? That person is the keeper of that map. The next is the implementer. That's the one that actually does the stuff. The one thing visionaries suck at in general is getting shit done. What they do is they're great at planning and thinking and seeing and strategizing. But when it comes to getting the boots on the ground and getting it done, they need somebody who that's all they focus on,
Yep.
right? Is having that implementer. Then the last is the manager or the technician, the one that's actually doing the work. Now, none of those are more important than the next. The visionary is no better than the guy doing the work, and the guy's no doing the work is no better than the implementer making sure it all works. But knowing where you fit, what you are, or
Yep.
what brings you the most joy is going to help you hire the other pieces. Now, we as owners, we have to have all of those things, right? But we're not good
Yep.
at all of them. That's the thing.
Yep.
So I started out as a technician slash manager, and I thought that's all there was. I didn't know anything else. And then eventually I kind of got into the implementer side where I just kept getting things done, not necessarily in the field, but in the business side of things. And eventually I became the visionary, right? I transitioned through those, and it wasn't even by me trying to do it consciously. this was very much it needed to be done. Like, who else is going to do it? My brother and father weren't visionaries. They were
Mhm.
technician managers and pretty good implementers, right?
Yep.
Integrators. So it's like, so it's finding that out. Then when I started Master Plan, I noticed that I said, all right, now I know I'm a visionary. I know that that's what I do. I need to hire an implementer or an integrator, right? Somebody who can get the things done, because I know that's where I struggle. That's where I procrastinate. I have the
Yeah.
ideas. I know what I need to do. I know what needs to happen. I know where we're going, but I get so stuck into things to get done to make that happen. So let's find somebody that's
Yep.
all they do is a classic integrator, like somebody who just, they don't have the vision, but they have the chops to get it done. In
Yep.
the now people, not in the future people. When you pair, this is what Gino talks about in the book, when you take a visionary and an implementer, an integrator together, that can be one rock solid, connection, because you've got
Yeah.
vision and you've got wheels under it. That's what and then when you have the technicians or the managers doing the work underneath that, it's beautiful. It's a symphony. That's how big companies work, because they have those roles
Yeah.
clearly defined. But most guys just don't want to work for somebody. So they don't think of any of these things. Like, business is kind of a bit of a lag. Like, well, I got to do this business thing. I just want to build things with my hands. I just want to make money
Yeah.
and make more money than I can at work on my time, on my schedule. So I have flexibility, and I just don't want to deal with this whole business thing. They didn't sign up for the business. They signed up for the work. And that's where
Yeah.
they get stuck.
For sure. Yeah, and like you were kind of saying, you're putting the best people in the right positions, and I preach that all the time on site too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I am on site a decent amount, or like I said, I enjoy being on site because I have one new guy that I like to get up to speed, and if it's a
Mm-hmm.
couple tips and tricks here and there, it's awesome. But there's always one guy that's better at running equipment than everybody else. There's always probably another guy he's maybe a little bit more efficient at going to get material, or he doesn't stop at every gas station he comes apart, And then you got a guy who's really good at cutting, or he's really good at fine tuning things. And so it's good to have all those different people, but also put them in certain roles to where they're going to be successful and make the team successful as well. So
Yep. 100.
exactly what you're hitting on. So
Well, the biggest thing for owners is trust. They don't want to
yeah.
focus on it. They don't want to talk about it. But first of all, they trust their own instincts, but they don't trust anybody else's, because they're like, this is my
Hmm.
baby and nobody wants it to win and to work as much as I do. So if I trust anybody with it and they mess up, I'm done. Right.
Yep.
So it's not even that. Here's the thing that most owners don't want to hear, and it's the absolute truth. It's not even the trust of others that's the promise. It's trust of themselves to lead the others.
That's valid. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
It's because if
Yeah.
we can control what we think and what we do, but we can't control what other people think and do. So it's easier to just not trust them and just trust ourselves, to not give them access in, than it is
Hmm.
to trust them. But in order to trust others, we need to trust ourselves first. And
That's a great way to think about it.
do we truly know how to trust ourselves? Or are we just putting on a show? Because then a lot of owners are very maxed out and they're just trying to put on
Hmm.
and make sure everything is working. And so the world sees a successful business when no one realizes they're one slip on a banana peel from the whole place shutting down. That's the reality of business ownership.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah,
talks about
definitely.
that part. They just highlight reels. Yeah, I make all this money. Look at my private jet. I got a fancy car. I've got 2
Yeah.
houses. Like, that's what they show. But they don't realize that a lot of those guys, especially the ones that are posting, but a lot of those guys are inches away from slipping on one banana peel and it's over. Right.
Hmm.
So it is really, first of all, listeners, to understand you're not the only one if you feel that way. That's why I felt for years and years and years, like that whole idea.
Yep.
And I didn't want anybody to know that, because I was supposed to be looking successful, but inside it was like a duck with his feet under water, constantly running like, oh my goodness, this could fold at any time. If people stop calling me, my business is over. Well, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay for this equipment?
Yep.
What am I going to do with these guys? They've got families. They're hungry. They've got
Yep.
mortgages. Like, that pressure is heavy.
Definitely.
That pressure is heavy. So it's easier for us just to rely on ourselves than it is to fully trust others. But again, if we're going at this thing called business and we're doing it in a way that we're trying to do it all ourselves, because we're not willing to learn how to trust ourselves so that we can then
Mhm.
truthfully trust other people, it's a no-sum game. You will be
Yep.
alone or smaller than you want to be, or just making it ends meet, because a business will never grow faster than the owner's mindset. I'm going to say that
For
again. The
sure.
business will never grow faster than an owner's mindset. If the owner is not growing, spiritually, emotionally, strategically, all of those things. If they're not growing, the business will not. The business is not going to grow. Like, that's not how it works. You don't start a business to be like, yeah, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to grow at all. I don't have to face my fears, go into the darkest parts of my life and shine a flashlight. I don't want to do that stuff. I just want to make a lot of money. And a
Yeah.
business will rip you open like that. A business will force you to look at all of those negative thoughts that go through your head. It'll rip you open. And you're constantly asking the question, and this is the primary human accusation from the devil is, are you enough? And if I'm not enough, can I be loved? That's the primary, the deepest it goes, is that I'm not enough. So we're trying to prove to everyone in the world that we are enough constantly.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And sometimes we overprove that. But when we realize that that's truth, and we realize that that's what the devil's scheme is up to, and we realize that that's just an accusation and a bunch of BS, old belief system, right? Just BS. Then we're like, okay, if that's the case, then what if we came at this with a different angle, right? What if we showed up here and said, what if I did trust myself? What would that look like? Or what do I need to
Yep.
work on in order to know that I trust myself and I trust my decisions and I can then trust others? That's really the
Exactly.
whole flipping of the mind, right? It's like, okay, well, now I trust myself. I say something. I have discipline to stick with it. Like, for instance, it's springtime, busier than heck, overwhelmed. You know what? I'm not going to wait until Friday night and just look forward to my Manhattan or my six pack or my,
Yep.
Jack and Coke because I earned it all week long and then get drunk on the weekend because, I earned it.
Yep.
I'm going to have the discipline to say no to that. And then to stick with that. And when you start disciplining yourself to things like that, those self-indulgences, those things that I earned all week, in your mind, you start saying no to things like that, you start building a confidence and a trust in yourself that nothing else will build. But you first must be honest with yourself. You can't possibly do this if you're trying to put on a show. It doesn't work. You must be honest with
Yep.
yourself, stick with the disciplines that you create in your life, and you will blossom in ways that you've never even thought possible. But you can't lie to yourself because you know your own bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
if you
And you stay in the
constantly keep
same
like
track. Yep.
it's like, oh yeah, I'll just wait till Friday and I'll have a drink, and pretty soon it's Monday and it's supposed to blitz all weekend, and you're back in the same thing, and you're rotating that over. And I say that because that used to be my life, right? I'm
Yeah.
saying this because this is
I've
my
been there
world,
too.
right? Yeah, and
Yep.
it's like just when it's like, oh, I earned all week, I can go drink this weekend. I don't have anything to worry about. And the next thing you know, you do that cycle, and inside you could do better, and you don't trust
Definitely.
yourself with your own seeking of pleasure and comfort. But when you deny yourself those things, and I'm just using that as an example. It could be weed, it could be pornography, it could be, whatever, just playing
Yeah.
video games, it could be 100 different things. But when
Yeah.
you start denying yourself that and having discipline to say no to that, you start respecting yourself and you start trusting yourself more. And then that trust
Definitely.
goes out directly into your teams and all that. But you can't get to trust in your teams until you trust yourself first. That's what I'm trying to get to here. And if you're not
Yeah.
willing to do that discipline, you might as well just go work for somebody because business is going to demand everything of you and you have nothing left to give over
Yep.
and over, just like children do. Children demand everything of you when you have nothing left to give, and you got to smile and love those little rascals when you
Yeah.
absolutely want to do nothing more than just curl up in a ball. And it forces you to grow. It forces a humility into you that only God can do in his perfect way.
100%. Yeah, it's probably been a big challenge for me lately because I just had a 3 year or well, my oldest daughter turned 3, and I have a
Mm,
1 year old as well. And running a business, running Hardscape Paradise, it can be a lot to handle. But
mhm.
thankfully, I have an amazing spouse
Yeah,
and that supports it and sees the vision and sees the dream. And I'm very blessed. I really am. And
for
so
sure.
I have two healthy little girls and hopefully have some more. So
Nice.
yeah,
I
you
love it.
gotta keep going. So,
You do.
but yeah. Anyways,
No,
what
it's
else
good
we
stuff,
got?
man. I love that you're focused on what's true. When you have that kind of awareness and realization that I'm the bottleneck. I'm the reason
Yep,
why we're not growing. That is a humbling feeling, isn't it?
for sure. It is. And like I said, I think as you're growing or as your business grows, it's very easy to point fingers.
Mm,
You made that mistake or you did that wrong and I've never been I've always been one of those leaders that embraces, if this person's doing something wrong or they made a mistake, maybe I didn't teach them well enough and so I don't know. I've always kind of been that guy that brings it back upon myself, like as a teaching moment, like, okay,
Yeah.
my team needs to, it's not just them struggling. It's like, I didn't teach them well enough, or we didn't train well enough for the
Yep. Yep.
situation.
Yep. Yep.
And so, yeah, taking responsibility for a lot of those things. But
I mean,
yeah,
it all
like you
falls on your
said,
shoulder anyway, right? As the owner, everything
100%.
falls on your
Yeah.
shoulders. So
When
you have
there's
to take,
failure,
yep,
and
yep.
yeah, exactly.
You're either going to be
You
the
don't want to,
victim and point, or you're going to be the one that takes the accountability and says, I'm responsible for this team and I'm responsible for
yeah,
their education. I'm responsible for their failures and for their wins. I'm responsible for
yeah,
those things,
yep,
and own that. Don't try to get away from it. Own that fact. And if
exactly.
it's not wiring that you can, or it's not in your wiring to be able to do that, then go work for somebody. There's nothing wrong with
Yep,
that.
yep,
It's not, entrepreneurship is not cut out for everybody.
yep,
And, here's the shift though, when it comes to going from an owner into being more of the, getting from the integrator into the visionary, or moving up into the structure of being an owner. It's how do I have all these hats. How do I start handing them off? Like I like only I do it best. I had the same exact mindset. I'm
yeah,
the best designer. I'm the best project manager. How am I going to hire somebody? Like who's going to take care of my calls? Who's going to talk to people? I mean, like they don't do it as good as I do. And
yeah,
I have to call BS on that too. Because you know what? I thought the same thing until I hired Becky. And then all of a sudden she was incredible on the front lines, better than me. And it took me a little bit to swallow that pill. And I'm like, wow, she's better. Like across the board, she's more organized. She's a
yeah,
classic implementer or integrator, right? So, and I'm
for
like,
sure.
wow, what I lacked, she had in spades. And I'm like, how is that possible? Because I'm awesome. Like I was
Hmm.
so full of myself. It was crazy.
Yeah,
And, Tony Robbins has a famous saying that says, all suffering comes from focusing on self. So if you're suffering, it's because you're focused on yourself. It's that simple. So when you think about like, man, this is really, really hard, like blah, blah, just are you playing the victim or the victor right now? Most of the time it's the victim. And you're focusing on what? Me. That's why you're suffering. If you're focusing on your team and how to make them better, you're probably not suffering. You're thinking of ways to do that. Right. So anyway, and then from the design side, when Joseph came on board, I was like, all right, I'm going to teach him how to design, but I'm the designer, dude. That's my identity, baby. That's my thing. I even bought the
yeah,
the Audi to show it and all the fancy clothes, like all that kind of stuff, dude. I did the whole deal, like the whole thing you'd see on TV. That was me. And I realized that when he came in within a year, that dude was doing better than I could. And I was like, but, but who am I now? If I'm not the
yeah,
designer, if I'm like, now I'm an owner, but what does an owner do when he doesn't design? He's not project managing anymore. He's not even selling anymore. Like, what
hmm,
does he do? And I had an identity crisis, dude. I didn't know who I was or how I was supposed to act.
yep,
How do I grow a team now? I don't have to do the things anymore. And so these are the things that happen in some businesses where people start to scale and grow, and others they are the technician. They love to do things with their hands. So be it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just
hmm,
know where you want to go and own it. That's all. There's no better or worse. But
yep,
when you're trying to hand off those hats, and I'm going to close out this podcast with this idea, guys, is there's three different modalities or three different things you need to be thinking about as one wearing all the hats. You're typically the teacher, right? You're teaching your people how to do things, which is great because when you teach people, you learn as well. But there's three modalities. There's student, teacher, and observer, right? So we all learn that way. Like a child will watch and watch and watch and watch and then go and do, right? A teacher will teach a child math and then they'll observe and then they'll watch and watch. And eventually the teacher will say, all right, little Joey, tell your neighbor how to do that. And then they become the teacher. And then the other kid becomes a student and someone else is watching as the observer. So if you rotate that mix with your team, they start out as the observer or the student, whichever. And the next thing you know, you move them into the next role. And then pretty soon you have them teach somebody else. Because when you do it that way, it's like a diamond. It becomes multifaceted. It's 3D education that way. You're not just learning based on the teacher. You're not just learning it based on the student. You're not just learning based on the observer. You're actually all of them, so that the understanding is much deeper and much fuller when it comes to their absorption and application of it. So the student, the teacher, and the observer is a great way to start taking some of those hats off and start training people that way and have them go through those different modalities as they're
yeah,
training. And you're going to be amazed by the kind of results you get.
awesome. I
Yeah.
guess, Joshua, what would you say would be, someone that's trying to get out of the field and grow their company? What are some of the first steps that they should implement, or who are the first people that they should hire? I guess, or is it more based off of where you feel like you're most lacking? I
Well,
guess.
first you need to discover what your gifting is.
Yeah.
What lane do you want to be in? What role do you want to play in this business? So people want to start a business and they're not great CEOs, but they're great technicians and they still own the business. It's possible. You need to hire the other parts out. So it's first being
Hmm.
very aware and being very humbled by who you truly are and what lights you up. Once you figure that out, you need to hire around you. So if it is
Hmm.
the visionary, well, then you need to hire that integrator, you need to hire managers and technicians, right? You need that in order the company's not going to work. If you're the integrator, you need to hire somebody with vision and then also a technician. If you're the technician, you need an integrator and somebody with vision, or you're not going to go anywhere. You're just going to be stuck doing the same thing. And for some, that's okay. But if you really want to grow, you're going to need all three of those healthily in your business. So you need to figure out which one you are and then hire the rest. That's how you get out of that. But again, we got to go all the way back to trust. You need to trust your word means something to you and that you're going to
Yep.
follow through on things and not get so far down the road and be like, I give up. I'm not going to do this. Because if you know that you're that way, you won't go anywhere. You got to build that trust through discipline.
Yeah, that's great. Great advice.
Well, I appreciate you, sir. You know what? I would love to finish up here with. Last year I was blessed to be with Tanner in Cancun, Mexico in February, and it was an incredible event, the Hardscape Paradise event. I was down there. He invited me down to speak on sales, and it was in the inaugural year. Incredible. Him and Tracy put on, and their family put on an incredible event down there, and everybody listening should be there next year. I'm just great speakers, incredible venue. Think about it. Where do we get to go in the world of hardscape and outdoor living where it's palm trees and beautiful blue waters and just amazing people, all that stuff in February, and get to bond, connect, learn, listen, glean. I mean, I learned so much down there. It's not even funny. I love the event.
Yeah.
It was amazingly laid out. So blessed to be able to know Tanner from that. So Tanner, I'd like you to tell us a little bit more about Hardscape Paradise and what your heart was, where it was to build this and where you're going with it.
Yeah. So I guess I don't even know where to start, but I originally, so my wife and I, we love vacations and we love heading south, especially in the wintertime. And
Mm-hmm.
February in South Dakota, awful. And so I had done some research about if there was any type of training or any type of events that were down south or any type, Hawaii or
Mm-hmm.
Florida or anything, just to escape the cold weather, but also have an opportunity to be able to write it off for a business expense. And I could not find anything. And so I approached my wife and I said, maybe there's something that we should start. Like I just started giving out ideas. And I started talking to my guys on the job site about it. And I'm like, what do you guys think about this? Or how could I refine this? And well, boiled down to me being a salesman and basically selling all these guys that I look up to, or I see them on the internet, I see them on Instagram, I see them on YouTube or Facebook, and all guys that I've looked up to for a long time. And now it's time for me to sell them an idea. That was I put a little extra feather in my hat, I guess, but it takes a lot of balls to do that, and
Yep.
it's basically like all your superheroes, and you're going to, hey, here's my idea.
Yeah.
Are you willing to give me an opportunity? And that's exactly what it was. And there's still a lot of other guys that I look up to in the industry that I would love to have as speakers in the future, but no, the event went amazing. There was thankfully, I mean, again, I'm going to shout out to my wife. She did so much of the stuff on the back end. She's a teacher most of the time. Well, she's a full time teacher, but she's has a winter break and
Mm,
she has a summer break as well. And it was great for her to pick up where I lacked. That organization,
mm,
the Excel spreadsheets, the attendee list, the website, and where yeah, exactly like that was my weak point, but that's her strong point. It was for me to be talking to people and selling the event and getting people excited. So we found our role, and this year I'm going to have more of my team, my own team, the Firescapes team down there. So I'm really looking forward to that.
yeah.
And they'll be down helping out with the event along with my family as well. So as the event grows, we got to have more staff, and it's just really cool to be able to bring down your team and your family and to basically serve others within the industry, which I am so passionate about. And like you said, passion, it just
Mm,
makes everything a little bit easier when you are passionate about it. People can feel that passion spill out of you. I feel like when you are actually passionate about something, and so I mean that's some of my favorite things. Like I love vacations, I love the beaches, I love networking with other contractors and talking business. And then you mix all that together, what do you get? You get Hardscape Paradise.
love it.
And so yeah, that's just a little bit about it. But again, so the dates this year, February 15th to the 19th. If you need an excuse to do something for Valentine's Day, come down a day early. And President's Day is that Monday, so if you're planning on bringing kids down, you can do that too. It is a family-friendly resort. So this year we're trying something different. We're doing an all-inclusive, which was a couple people in our feedback had wanted to try an all-inclusive because last year it wasn't, and we're gonna see how it goes. And so
Cool.
we're really looking forward to it. It's in Cancun again this year. I think next year we're gonna go for a different location, somewhere else, and probably in the Caribbean. But we're gonna try to see if we can get some more voting on that from our attendees and see where they want to go
Yeah.
for year three. And so I think it's just really going to keep people excited, and it's just going to snowball and grow and grow and grow. And so eventually, long term, I guess if you were to ask me, 10, 20 years down the road, I'd hope that we're still doing it. And I'm hoping that maybe we could have a December hardscape paradise so guys can get a year-end tax write-off, but make it a
Yeah.
vacation. And then we have a
Love it.
January one in a different location, and then
Yeah.
maybe another one in February. And so, because for me, us in the Midwest, a lot of the guys here, I mean, the season really comes to a standstill around Christmas time, or maybe
Yeah.
sometimes even sooner for a lot of these guys. And then we normally get kicked off about in March. And so we have about 2 to 3 months of almost, you could say, no major production, right?
Yep.
You might be out there selling designs and selling projects for the spring, which is great. But as far as, and there's a lot of education events all over the country, but it's on a beach in Mexico and it's 80 degrees and you're
That's
got a,
right. That's right.
margarita by the pool and you're talking with, a couple of the speakers that we have. I mean, it's just, there's nothing else like it. And you can bring your spouse down, you can bring your kids down if you'd like, and they can enjoy the pool while you're at the event. And you can still write off your flights and your rooms. It really is, it's a really cool, unique opportunity. And I think it's as much as you want to put into it
Yeah.
type of event. And
I love
one
it.
thing that I really thought was probably the coolest thing when we had it, so we'd have sessions, and when the sessions would get over, no one would get up from their seat. They wanted to hang out and talk with other people, and
Yeah.
I've been to so many other seminars and things like that, and people just can't wait to get up and eat, or they can't wait to go get a drink, or whatever. They can't wait to get out of where the seat that they've been in all day. And it's just not the case there. So
Yeah.
it was a whole different level. Again, I'm a little biased, but got a lot of great feedback from everybody. We had contractors from all over the country, had some Canadians there even, which is just, it's so cool. It's so cool
Yeah.
to go from an idea, and now you made it real and you made it a possibility, and now it's something that people look forward to doing every single year. So
Yep.
really
Yep.
cool.
No, I appreciate it, man. And you know what? I look forward to it this year coming 2027. And Cancun was a great spot. It was a great hotel.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to come down and support it and to be
Yeah.
there. And there's nothing like, when it's cold at Pennsylvania to be flying in somewhere warm, thinking like we're talking about hardscaping, we're talking about sales. Like you expect to be in some, cold parking lot in Akron, Ohio or
Yeah.
something, right? It's like, no,
Yeah.
no, no. This is
Yeah.
actually like a destination thing, which is really cool. But I don't want to give too much away because in the next episode, listeners, we're actually going to go deeper into what Hardscape Paradise 2027 is going to look like. So he's just giving you a
Absolutely.
little teaser here, but thanks for coming on here, and I can't wait to go deeper with you next week.
I appreciate you having me, Joshua. Thank
All
you.
right.